back again. What I'm going to show you, as discussed in the first tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a wheel arch as best as you can. So, first things first, I'm just going to put this to reference, and I'll show you the process that I did to create that. So I'm going to build a few curves. I'll put it into orthographic mode and just look straight on. And then I'm going to toggle my grid. So I'm just going to literally plonk a curve from there to about there. Now all I've done, I've got curves. Double click that. Actually, apply, go. I want my curves to be 1 degree. I don't want anything else other than that. And there's a good reason for that. So I'll do that again. So that's not a 1 degree. So from there, start and end, that's all I want to do. And then up here it will say degree and span. And you want to leave spans at 1. I'm going to change that to a 3 degree. And by doing so, rather than doing it 3 points, I know by changing it in the degree box there, like I did just, that these two are equally spaced throughout the length of the curve. And then there are points where you have an equally spaced one, but it's always good to start off equally spaced and try and keep them as equally spaced as possible, because it just gives you a better even flow to a surface. So in that view, that looks right. Obviously now it's in the middle, so I'm going to move that. Just going to zoom in. I'm going to select CVs. Just going to pull that one. Just pull this one this way. Just going to pull this one back out a bit. And along with this one as well. So now, if I select a curve, I've got one curve just there. Next, I'm going to do a curve down the bottom of the actual wheel arch. So, again, 1 span, 1 degree and 1 span. I'm going to move that out here. Now this current model has dead vertical wheel arches, whereas normally you don't have that. Normally you have the body kick in underneath and disappear or roll away from the actual wheel. So I'll demonstrate that for now. Not that it makes any difference to the actual process, it's just where you position your curves. And then I'm also going to add a bit of curvature to the top profile, but in this view currently it's dead flat. And I'm then going to hold Control, left click, and that snaps to the CVs of the other curves. Again, I'm going to change this to a 3 degree. And then I'm going to select the middle 2 CVs, knowing they're evenly spaced, nice and even. I'm just going to pull them out. And I want there to be some kind of negative down here, so I want this to come out further than the bottom CV in front view. You can have it flat, obviously it depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, but for what I'm showing you now, this is what I'm doing. So, same process on this side. Only at the end of the day, this kicks in quite a lot here, so you can only achieve so much. So I'm just going to add a slight arc to that. I'm not going to add much more to that. So that has created 4 curves. I'm just going to bring these ones out again a little bit more. What I'm doing now, I'm using the middle mouse and it'll move in one direction. Left mouse moves in another direction. Right mouse moves in another direction. In case you're wondering. And then the next thing I want to do, I want to create a curve that goes all the way around this wheel arch. Now if you use a normal circle, and I'll show you with a normal circle to show you how bad it is, I'm just going to snap that using pressing Alt. That's not done a circle. It's a funny looking circle. Circle. Okay, I don't know what that's doing there. Clearly it's set to something weird. Alright, that's 360 degree. Normally, I'm just going to go to the window of the palette because default, this curve by default, yeah, that's the one you don't want. So that's to create a 5 degree and 12 spans. And to demonstrate the difference, I'm going to do one of these curves. So if you click on that one, 7 degree and 1 span. So if I just select both these and I just drag them out as a draft. Oh, come on. Alright, take 3. I'll select this surface first because it's been awkward. I don't know why it's having a massive issue over there. That's not even created a perfect tube anyway. What is going on? Right, so what that's done is created this surface eventually, when we got around to it, as a 7 degree with 1 span. This surface, 5 degree, 12 spans, and that is because of these curves. And also, so the tube on the left is a bad tube, built for a bad curve, so we don't want those. And also, that's a bad one as well. And now, you'll notice with this one, that horizontal line is a part line, where it's started, gone all the way around and finished. Now you want that curve to, and that basically by default always starts with that CV there. So what you want to do when you're using these circles to create the opening, you want to go into the side view and scale it to whatever you want to scale it to. and then you want to rotate in the Y, so that's right click. No, it's not, it's middle mouse click. And I want this CV on the right, I want it to go down, so it's well out the way. But you can also do Control 5. That brings up the information window of whatever is selected. And then the attributes, you can type in a value for that, and then I can also rotate by a value. So I'm going to put that 90, nice and easy, and I'm going to make that 325. So that's Control 5 for the information window, so you can change the attributes of a certain thing. Then what I'm also going to do is that curve is currently on that middle plane, which is fine, but if I were to bring that out here, I won't be able to get a nice curve. It'll be dead straight, as that is dead vertical, and we don't want that. So we want to mess around with that curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a curve. I'm sure I have to make it across there. So that curve I've just created and moved to the centre of the model is the same as this lower curve down here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and trim that curve. So pipe. And then I need to get the curve edit. And this tool first says pick curves to break. So I want to break that curve. Go pick curves to break. Again, I want to pick that curve. And then that should have split them, but it hasn't. Alright, try that again. I'll pick both of them this time. And I always found that this was always a bit temperamental for some reason. Basically what I'm trying to do is split the circle with that line. And it was always temperamental to do this. So is that done now? It's never straightforward when you want to do something. Okay, let's let these two intersect those two curves. Go intersecting curves. Has it even done that? No. In an ideal world, this would have worked straight away, and it wouldn't be an issue. Come on. Okay, it's not doing it the way I want it to do. I cannot for the life of me tell you why, unfortunately, because it just doesn't want to do it. Even though that clearly is the trimming one, it just does not want to do it. I'm pretty sure intersect only intersects surfaces. Yeah, it doesn't do that. Right, okay. We're going to have to just work with a full circle, but because that's obviously, I can't manipulate that. So what I need to do, I need to click on Fit Curve. I'm going to change that to a number to the point where I want it nice and even. So I'm going to choose 6 degrees. And then what that's going to do is created a curve. I'm going to, come on. Sorry, this has been a right pain. So that's done. A curve has got 3 CVs at the bottom, 2 in the middle, 1 at the top. I might change that to a 7. Yeah, 7's better. It's nice and even all the way around. But if I select the fit curve and try and move it, it won't move at all because it's fitted to that circle. So what you want to do is just do a copy, paste, and then move the paste curve. Now I know that that's a 7-degree curve in a perfect circle, and I can also manipulate the CVs to create a bit of shape. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the 2 middle ones and the 3 bottom ones, and I'm just going to move them in slightly, and then I'm going to select the bottom 3 again, move them in slightly more, so that in the front view I'm getting a bit of shape to the actual wing. So I'm going to pull that out to somewhere that I'm kind of happy with. And by doing that, actually has made this bottom curve down here redundant. That's not relevant anymore. So I'm just going to delete that. And what I want to do, I want to create a curve from the top of that new curve I just built to the curve that's on here. I'm just going to hide the body now. And I'm just going to, for your reference, I'm just going to delete these curves so it's not confusing your view. It's out of the way. So this curve, I'm just going to go into side on view, and I'm just going to put that as close to the centre as possible. And then I'm going to Control and Alt and just click and hold, and it will snap to that curve. And then by doing that, I've got a 1-degree curve, which is fine. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. Snap with Control, then Control and Alt, snap to here. But I'm going to try and make that to move. I'm going to do move and then Control and Alt, left click, and just drag until it's pretty much where I want it to be. And just for reference, I'm going to create another line that's dead horizontal, so I know that that needs to be as close to this point as possible. That's fairly horizontal. I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. And then I can just delete that. I don't need that. Sorry for reference. So you can see what I've created now. I've got the profile of the actual wheel arch. I'm going to do a copy and paste of that. I'm going to centre its pivot so the pivot will move to the centre of the circle, hopefully. No, it's not. Oh dear. I'll move the pivot to there, and then I'm just going to scale that in. And then what that's done is I'm just going to create a flat spot on the side of the wheel arch. So I'm going to use a skin tool. I'm just going to skin those two. And then I'm going to select. So I'm kind of doing this and change the way I've gone about doing it. Right, okay. Ignore these two curves I've just created. This new one I've just created now, I'm going to do a project. Double click that, and I'm going to project in the Y direction. So I'm going to select surface, click project, select the curve, project. And what that's done, that's created a curve on the surface there and there. And then I'm just going to use the trim tool, and you'll know when you can trim that successfully is you've got two green little dots, crosshairs. If they're red, it means there's a gap and it won't trim. So now I've created that flat spot, and because the curves have got history, I can move that curve and it will maintain history. I don't have to rebuild that all the time. So I can tweak that and play around with that later on. So now I'm going to select this curve again from those ones I did earlier, and then I'm going to do move again, but Control and Alt. I'm just going to snap to the end of the actual surface. I'm going to do the same with this. Same with this side. So I know that these curves have snapped to that edge of that surface. And then same principles, you want to create everything with a four-sided curve, four-sided shape. So I'm going to go from this point here to, now for reference, I'm going to put a line straight through the middle. So I'm going to use that as reference, and I'm going to use the project tool to project points onto that surface. So I'm going to use project, and by using these curves on the surface, I can attach a curve to those points using Control. And now I'm just going to delete that because I don't need that now. I'm not going to delete the curves on the surface just yet, but I'm going to change all these curves now. I'll even change the bottom ones, so I'm just going to select all these curves that need to be changed from a 1 degree to a 3 degree. So evenly spaced CVs throughout the whole curve network I've just created, and I'll always move these CVs at the same time. So that I know that they're going to be nice, even, equal surface. So I'll leave that as that for now, because the beauty of Alias having history to the surface means I can change the surface to see what the effect are of the highlights without having to worry about losing any of the history. Anyway, I'm blabbering. Sorry, I do that a lot. I'm going to start building surfaces now, so I'm going to do top ones first. And I'm going to leave the first one at position. So if I double click the square option, I'm using the square tool, and I'm going to pick the first curve, then I'm going to pick the edge of the skin, then I'm going to pick the next curve, and then this one. So I've gone around as 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, as you can see there, leaving them all on position, which is fine. Explicit control, I'm going to change it all down to 3. So because this is a 7 degree curve, a 3 degree on this edge isn't enough. U is normally 1 and 3, and V is 3 and 4. So change that to 4 and it will fit. So that's fine. I'm now going to go and do the opposite side. I'm going to build number 1 from this surface, not the curve, the surface. Skin, curve, curve. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. This time, position on number 1 needs to be curvature. And that happily does it. There's no issues. And that is because this is a perfect curve and a perfect circle. And that was created from perfect curves. There's no weird bits or anything like that. It's nice, clean curve network. So okay, just to show you what that's created, it's created a nice even spread. So the zebra stripes are nice and even, which is what we want. Now, because of the way this is created, this surface direction wants to go in this direction, and this surface is going in this direction. So you'll never get these to be in curvature unless you split them. And my design hinged on this being a point where the bonnet started. So there's no point trying to build this with curvature, because you'll see what happens. Because for it to all be in curvature, the surface wants to bend in two different directions based on the surface it's been created from. And you'll see there it says curvature failed, and then it will also say position failed, because that position is, well, that position relies on what this surface is doing and how it wants to flow away from this surface. So you can see where it's trying to meet up the stripes, and you can see here it doesn't meet up, it's gone from black to white. So you know there's no way it's going to do that, because that surface wants to go down and this surface wants to go up in a completely different direction. So the way I got around this is I left that on position, and that's happy at position because it just meets at that edge. It doesn't try to do anything else. This down here, number 4 and 2, which is V, needs to go up to be able to build successfully. It still says position fail, so I'm just going to bump that up to 5. So that edge is a 5-degree edge, which in turn will make this edge a 5-degree. Even though that curve is a 3-degree, it will make that a 5-degree. And that's a nice even spread of zebra, ignoring what's happening here. So I'm happy with that. And you can manipulate what this highlights does based on this lower edge here and the CVs here. So for example, I could select, hang on, I'm just going to delete this curve here because that's in the way. That's only a reference curve. Right, I can pull these in. To manipulate what I want the surface to do, and then you want to make sure you manipulate it in such a way so the minute it's negative in the minute, because this point is furthest forward, so I'm going to move that back out and move this one back out, so it's positive now. And then you can assess that, and you know, depending on whatever you're trying to achieve with your surface, depends on what you want to do with it. And you can do the same on these two here. You think, okay, maybe I want to pull this one out a little bit more. And this is why it's good to have history on the curves and the surfaces, so you can manipulate and it just auto updates. Which is why this is just superior to any other program. Anyway, I'm going to do the same again this side, and then for the same reasons I'm going to try and get that down to a lower number, but no, it wants to be a 5, it's fine. Everything else is on position, and because of how far that has to travel in comparison to how far that is, the stripes is slightly different, etc, etc. And because of the twist in that surface, that's what's creating this weird highlight in comparison to this one, because this is a fairly shallow surface and not a lot really is happening here. But you could also tweak these. Oh, no. See, I could bring in these, maybe bring them in further. You're forever tweaking the CVs and the curves to get your desired result of whatever you're trying to achieve. But as her trying to get these now to blend nicely, we then come to fillets. So I'm going to use the surface fillet tool, and then I'm going to do a G3 curvature. Center radius I'm going to set quite large, for example, just to show you. And then I'm going to just select the first surface, and then the second surface, and then press enter. And what that do? That should build, yep. And you'll notice there's a bit of an error because the surface hasn't gone off the end, and that is down to flow control. So you will notice, let's see if you can see it. Oh, what would I? You'll notice that, okay, the thing I wanted to show you, it's kind of just disappeared. I'm going to change these from default to edge align on both of them. Why is it not doing that? Okay, I'm going to undo all. For some reason that has done something weird. I don't know why. Curves on surface. I'm just going to delete those curves on surface because I don't want them anymore. And when Alias wants to play ball, we'll do that again. So I do that one, then that one, press enter, wait for 10 years for it to catch up. Right, okay. Now you'll notice that says the end, and then this side down here is the start. And if I double click the box, the radius is, I want to change that from radius to chord, and then I want to increase that to something larger, and then that's created curvature and curvature. And if I just put the zebra on, you'll see the effect that that has on the surface. If I go to model, get rid of the curve networks, and maybe you want it to be bigger than that, so maybe you're not getting the desired result you want because it's quite a harsh pinch. So maybe, okay, I'm going to put that in variable. Maybe I'm going to click on that number that says 50. I'm going to increase that to say 100. This is all in millimeters, by the way. And then I'm going to click on here and change that down to 10, maybe. So it pinches at that end, but maybe this end it hasn't changed. Right, click on the 50 then, because it doesn't want to update from the box. So I'm kind of making it broader, and then it pinches down to the finished rad down here. I'll increase that to say 25 maybe. Maybe I'll do that to 35. And I'll do this until I find something that's a happier blend, so that's much less pinched. Over here it's a lot smoother, and then it kind of pinches as it gets to the point, which is going to happen because it's coming to a point, and you've got a surface that's trying to come down in this direction, and then the surface is going into this direction. It is a case of what's going to happen in 3D form. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. And based on the previous settings, it's going to be 100 at each end. Change that to 100. Change that value to 1. Change this to 35, so it's the same as the other one. And then what that's basically done, it's trimmed these surfaces, and then that gap has then been filled with a blend matching them two surfaces up within curvature. So I'm just going to delete locators. So it's created a corner radius where these are intersected basically. So then when you put it into zebra, the stripes all flow and pinch to the corner, which is the desired result that I was looking for. And then if I put that into some kind of surface finish, you can get an idea as to the effect that that's had. If I go on to visualize, select a material, go away. Select these, and I'm just going to assign a metallic material. And you get the idea. That's created a surface that appears creaseless apart from where it's gone into that corner. And then also I want to put a radius on this edge all the way around. So I'm going to use the surface fillet tool, and then I'm literally just going to marquee select all of those, and it automatically recognises what's what. And then by clicking build, it will try and work it out, but because this is currently set to quite high, change that to 5mm. Build that. Okay, try that again with 5 from the off. It's not having any of that at all, which is quite irritating. So you go to a point where you start to build it manually. So what I'm going to do is snap to that curve within the front view, then Control 5 to the information window, and I'm going to change that to 5mm. And then I'm going to use the profile tool, select that, accept that, and I'm going to use that edge, and then that should build accept. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. Click that, click done, not accept, then circle and build. That should build a tube, which it hasn't. Ugh. Try it the other way around. done, build. So that's create a tube. Now I'm going to use that tube to intersect with everything there. And then I'm going to select that tube again. I'm just going to delete the tube. And what that leaves you with is those blue curves and surface. And then I'm going to get the trim tool and I select these surfaces, select those areas, those crosses I want to keep. And it will delete those bits. I'm going to do the same on here. And keep those bits. And then I'm going to select the inside here, and then I'm going to select that bit, keep. So then what that's done, it's trimmed the part out. Then using a freeform blend, I'll put G3 curvature, and then I'm going to select that side, then go all the way around this side. I'm going to click build, and then what that's done is created a surface that is in curvature to both the wall of the actual wheel arch and the actual front wing. So then when it goes into shape quality, it's got a nice ride in there and the light bends to it nicely. So that is how I go about building spanless surface. And then you can see with the colour tool, you can see where, now you can see here where the surface actually has just gone straight down. We don't want that, so the interior, change the edge align and update, and it will just align the edges better, because that wasn't ideal. And then top of model, delete locators, there we go. But also in theory, I should also be able to still select these CVs and just pull and play to update the surfaces. So I can maybe make that a negative wheel arch, not positive. I could do the same for down here. And it should be able to update according to whatever my desired result is. So I'm just going to make that negative as well. And I'm going to do the same down here maybe. Again, do it to this one as well. It's done something funny with this surface here, the freeform blend. Sometimes it will. It just means you'll have to rebuild, which isn't the end of the world. It's just where the trim has gone wrong. But I just want to show you a negative wheel arch as well. So just showing that on zebra. You can get kind of a hot spot almost. And you can just play around with it depending on whatever you're trying to achieve, really. So maybe let's put these surfaces into different colour. Just going to change some settings on the material itself. So you can get an idea as to what that's going to do. And you can see the result. It's a nice clean surface, albeit that trim has gone wrong, but you can just redo the same process, just redo it. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.